This is a heads up that my Great War Monty vs. Shadowman posters are only available for a limited time, so if you want one, be quick, the link is in the description, don't hesitate. Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. From the second my team finished the Easter egg, I looked at my stream chat and there were so many of you guys asking me to do a video explanation of what's going on in the Alpha Omega end cutscene, and so that's what this video is. I'm going to answer as many of your questions as possible, and to give you an idea of A, just the context of what we're talking about, and B, the main subjects that I'm going to address in this video, we're going to watch the end cutscene now together, and I'll interrupt it as we go along and just say, okay, there's one topic, there's another, etc. Here we go.
Happy, Nikolai? Everything playing out as the Chronorium predicted.
We have what we came for. The elemental shard. Hooray for us!
Okay, so straight away, two questions here. One, what is the elemental shard? We'll talk about that. And two, why are all 8 characters here right now? We'll talk about that as well.
It's too late!
Maxis?
Okay, this is something we'll obviously have to address as well, because it's a pretty big deal for the zombies storyline.
Who knows? Who does he speak of?
Dr. Monty.
What's happening, Nikolai?
You are too late.
Ah, shit. That's all we fucking need.
Hello, Samantha.
Samantha obviously needs to be discussed as well, so we'll talk about her a little bit alongside Kid Eddie, who she brings along with her.
Who is the boy?
That would be us.
We're going to fight the war, Eddie. The great war. Then, we're going back to the house to kill him and burn it all to the ground. Agartha, the ether, the infinite, everything.
Okay, she's not happy, and we'll talk about exactly what's coming up in DLC 4 as well. Right, the first item on our list is the elemental shard. That's what the characters are fighting for, essentially, throughout this entire map. They've come to this facility to get the shard. It's in Nikolai's grand scheme, which is a plan that he got from the Chronorium since he became the leader back in Blood of the Dead. We'll talk about that more in a moment. The shard on site is contained within the APD, or at least half of it is. The other half is elsewhere, and we'll talk about that in a moment as well. The first mention of the shard came in the Zombies comic. You guys might remember that Victus were sent on a journey by Richtofen, and one of the places they stopped off at was a Broken Arrow facility. They had a run in there with a load of bios, which were basically these mutant zombie/animal experiments that kept coming back from the dead, even when they were killed killed or shot or whatever, they would just keep reanimating and coming back. And the reason for that, the source of their power, was the elemental shard. The Victis crew used the shard to power a teleporter to go from Zero Base, one location, to the Empty Earth, another that Maxis made use of that was never inhabited by humanity. It never had humans on it in its entire existence at all. It just functioned essentially as a tangent timeline and a storage facility, and it was there that the Chronorium was being held, and so Richtofen instructed Victis to go and grab it from that facility, and from there the events of the comic basically culminated in the crews meeting up in the laboratory underneath Alcatraz. Anyway, I just wanted to give you a bit of a reference for when the shard first came into the story. Let's talk about that regenerative power that it gave the bios. Why does it do that? Well, there's an audio reel in Alpha Omega which gives us a pretty good explanation of why the shard is unique and not just another piece of Element 115.
The electrical output is unlike anything we've seen before, Director Parnell.
Come now, Dr. Hale. This is Element 115 we're talking about here. We know what it's capable of.
That's what I thought too. But the elemental shard, it's different. The levels of concentrated energy it contains, well, simply put, our team has been unable to measure it. It's unlike any Element 115 sample we've studied before. Whenever we drain energy from it, that energy is replaced, as if it's recharging itself. This ability, I think it's what Maxis was looking for all those years ago. I think it's the Genesis code.
That's unlikely, Doctor.
I know how it sounds, but look at the ADAMs. When we charged them with regular Element 115, it gave them power. But when they were charged by the shard, they feel and act different. They feel alive.
Dr. Maxis spent years reanimating the dead. Hell, the Germans made that Group 935's primary purpose during the war. But according to his own research, that was the ceiling. Reanimation. He could restore the body, but not the mind or soul.
I know, but he didn't have the shard. If you'll let me run some tests, I believe...
I don't think lab rats are going to cut it here. I may have a candidate you can use. I'll let you know when he's been delivered.
So there's a lot mentioned in this radio, the ADAM units, the fact that the shard is regenerative in this way, and also the fact that there's a test subject on the way that they're going to test the shard on. The two people in the radio are Cornelius Parnell and Dr. Hale. Parnell is present throughout Classified, he has a bunch of radios on that map, and Broken Arrow is almost his own personal pet project. He's extremely enthusiastic about specifically the Broken Arrow program, which was created as a kind of partnership with the DoD and the CIA. The DoD being the Department of Defense, in case you don't know the acronym. Anyway, Parnell starts off way back in the day as Peter McCain's handler. You might remember him from Shino Numa. And eventually, he loses Peter in the Rising Sun facility incident. But he never forgets that moment. He feels guilty about it forevermore. And so, it's Peter's body that he successfully reanimates in this next radio using the elemental shard.
This is Broken Arrow Operations Director Parnell, accompanied by Dr. Hale. The date is June 1st, 1964. It's approximately 1 a.m. We're about to begin test number 22. Dr. Hale, you may proceed when ready.
Confirming conduits have been linked with the shard. Output set to 5,000 volts. Duration set for 10 seconds. Beginning now.
Damn. I'm sorry, Dr. Hale. I thought we had him.
Director.
I don't believe it. Incredible.
Assessing vitals. First glance, everything looks good. I'll need some time to run a few tests, but I think we've done it.
Oh, take all the time you need, Dr. Hale. If we've done it, I mean if we've truly restored life to the deceased, we'd better be damn sure we're right. Let's keep him quarantined for now. Begin your tests when ready. We need to make sure he is, well, who he was.
What was his name, Director?
Peter. His name was Peter McCain. I'll send you his file. And, Doctor,
Yes, sir?
not a word of this to anyone outside the company. Not the CIA, not the DOD. Broken Arrow eyes only.
Of course, sir.
So, Peter is brought back from beyond the veil, so to speak. And this is interesting because Maxis always tried to reanimate the dead and stuff like that with Group 935, as we learned years ago in the zombie story at this point. But this is unique in that Peter is restored to his actual former self, as far as we can tell. He has some strange stuff going on with him, which we'll learn about in just a second, but for the most part, he recovers. However, as we know in the zombie story, things just go wrong all the time, and things have been going a little bit too well until now. So in this next radio, you're going to hear that yes, Peter has been recovering, but Parnell's 115 exposure, as we heard about in Classified, is making him a little bit crazy, and as such, he breaks the shard in two, pretending that he's giving up the whole shard to the Department of Defense, whereas actually he's keeping half for himself.
Broken Arrow brought me back from beyond the veil, sir. I can think of no greater honor than repaying the organization for what they've done.
Believe me, Peter, the honor would be all ours. These are strange times. I need good men like you in my circle. DOD's claws are deep into our organization. Too deep. I've not confirmed it, but I suspect they've planted spies in our ranks. Last month, out of the blue, they forced me to give up the elemental shard, as if they knew what we were up to.
I'm sorry to hear that, sir.
Oh, that's all right. DOD don't know it, but I managed to break the shard in two. Kept half so we can continue our work. We need to stay on our toes. I need people I can trust. You're welcome to join the organization, but it'll mean swearing loyalty to Broken Arrow before the United States. Company over country. I need to know that's something you can do.
I can do that, sir.
Okay, so that's a lot of info about Cornelius Parnell. Why is that really relevant to the current stuff we're doing with the Elemental Shard? Well, when we get to Camp Edward, the map Alpha Omega, we learn from Rushmore, an AI at the facility who's been dormant for 50, 60 years, that the shard is inside the APD. Who else is inside the APD? Parnell. Except Parnell is no longer Parnell. Instead, he is the Avogadro now. He has transformed through repeated private tests that he did with Dr. Hale. Hale was infatuated with Parnell, and Parnell manipulated her to go behind the back of the entire Broken Arrow organization and try to essentially merge himself with the Ether in order to ascend to Agartha. This is an endeavor that has come up time and time again in zombies, the most recognizable example being that of Ultimus Richtofen, who touches the MPD on the moon, goes a little bit nuts, and decides that his entire life goal is going to be to ascend into Agartha and control everything through the MPD. The parallel here with the Americans building their own APD, the American Pyramid device, are all over the place, and in fact Parnell says that he's directly going off things that Richtofen did in order to try and achieve the same goal. This obviously doesn't go right for him. He becomes the Avogadro, and he gets trapped inside the APD where the shard is also kept. Thus, for our characters to get the elemental shard, we need to go through the Avogadro, and only then are we able to grab it and move forward with our quest. But why do we need it? Well, let's take a look at the Zombies comic and use that as inspiration. First of all, the shard in there, as I said, was used to teleport the characters in a manner that has never really been shown in Zombies before, from zero base to the empty Earth. This was in conjunction with a blood test being done to, supposedly, according to Richtofen, ensure that the characters teleporting were human, whereas in fact, Richtofen was using this to siphon off their blood and keep it for his own when he got to the end of the cycle that makes up the Zombies timeline. The shard that we've acquired now in this map may well be used for a similar purpose. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the reason we've grabbed this alongside its restorative properties and things like that is so that we can teleport somewhere we've never gone before and basically go forth and fight the Great War. It's going to take some serious fuel to bring all of our characters through to the exact point that we need to get to, and especially when Monty isn't on our side anymore, and so it makes sense that something like the shard would be required. That brings us quite nicely onto the second point we were going to cover. why the 8 characters are even there in the first place. Like, we're going to the Great War, I guess, but why are there 8 of them now? Well, what happens in Blood of the Dead when we finally break out of the cycle is we reach Alcatraz and the pages of the Chronorium have changed. Richtofen gives the Chronorium to Richtofen and then leaves through a portal, and our characters then fight through the Easter egg, eventually leaving the Cycle Richtofen, Primus Cycle Richtofen, inside the Dark Mechanism. There is a post-Revelations Richtofen who appears out of a cryo chamber and basically takes the place of that now busy with the Dark Mechanism Richtofen. I think busy is probably kind of a heartless way to describe it, but we'll go with it. So we get to the end of Blood and we have a new version of Primus. We've got post-Rev Richtofen and the other 3 regular Primus crew. This is the point where post-Revelations Richtofen makes Nikolai the leader of the group and gives him the Chronorium to read. It's now his burden to bear. Remember, Nikolai's soul has not been collected, and it's that specific point that is the reason why Nikolai needs to be the new group leader. These 4 characters then exit via portals, and the next thing we see is the classified end cutscene with 4 members of Primus coming through a portal to meet with the Ultimus crew. The Ultimus crew at this point are being held in classified because they have just returned from the moon. There's been some story stuff going on, which is the reason why Richtofen is awake rather than just being a slab as he is initially when he gets back from the moon. And the Primus characters get there and convince them that they need to work together to go and fight a new war against the new enemy. I'm just going to play the cutscene now because it's pretty short and it's pretty integral. And I don't think a lot of people have actually seen this thing because of the fact that you need to get to such a high round in order to actually activate the cutscene.
We do not understand the Earth. We saw it destroyed, yet here we are.
It's more time travel bullshit, Tech. Just hasn't happened yet. Speaking of BS. How the hell did you get back in your body, Doc?
Does it matter, Dempsey?
I'll tell you what matter. Americans still give Nikolai his vodka. Is that your plan, Nikolai? To give up and drink yourself to oblivion? Or do you want to make a difference for once in your life?
You. Oh, Scheiße.
You 4 must come with us. In time, it will make sense. But now...
Intruders on the base. Hangar full.
Now we must go, quickly. There is a war to be fought.
War? What kind of war?
A war unlike any you have ever seen. The Great War.
So, there are our 8 characters. Now, there is a little bit of a mystery involved here, because in Alpha Omega, the Richtofen that is the supposed Primus Richtofen is obviously not post-Rev Richtofen, nor is post-Rev Richtofen in the classified ending. Also in Alpha Omega, the Primus Richtofen that we do play as seems to be weirdly not talkative, and so while some people think, oh, it is post-Rev Richtofen and he's just changed clothes, my opinion is that that couldn't be the case, because surely post-Rev Ricto wouldn't be keeping his mouth shut when he's just been in the midst of fighting a great war and then put in a cryo chamber in blood. I think this is a different Richtofen entirely, such as the Richtofen that leaves through the portal in the intro to Blood of the Dead. Anyway, that hopefully explains why there are 8 characters present. They go from classified right over to the Nuketown facility at the order of Primus Nikolai, who is the new group leader, commanding the bigger cast as we go forwards in our fight against Dr. Monty. That brings us on to the question of what the hell's going on with Monty? Why is he so evil? Why does he eat Maxis? Hello? This one is a nuanced question, and one that I've made a full video on called literally Why Dr. Monty is Evil, like his lies exposed. I'll link it in the description down below and in the corner of the screen right now for you to click. But the short answer is that for this entire time that Monty has been talking to us, since Gorod Crovy, I mean, earlier in fact, when he was just nudging us and not even talking, He has been manipulating us for his own means. Monty knows full well that the revelations ending when the blood gets drunk isn't going to save the universe. Yes, the kids will grow up in the house, but those affected by 115 throughout the multiverse will continue to be trapped by the ether's power. This is something that Maxis tells us himself.
We must discuss Monty's plan. If you are to follow through and deliver the souls, it will not resolve the paradox. Yes, the children will grow up and live in their perfect universe. But the blood vials, they will not break the cycle as you believe. They will perpetuate an endless loop. All those affected by element 115 will continue to be trapped and tortured by the ether's power. It would never end. The world will always break. You will always try to fix it. You will always travel to the house with the souls. You will always drink the blood, and then the cycle will repeat. I suspect Monty knows this. Perhaps the true cost of fixing all of reality is too great, even for him. I will reach out when I have more information.
We learn that if Monty really wanted to, he could fix everything, but for him personally, that could wipe him from existence. And the reason for that is that ether is linked to Agartha, and if you know Monty's history, like I said, link in the description down below to that one video where I basically give you a full history of Dr. Monty, you'll know that ether and Agartha are integral to his very being. This is reiterated once again by Dr. Maxis.
I believe I have uncovered why Dr. Monty will not destroy element 115. The ether is inextricably linked with Agartha. They are one and the same. Agartha, the physical space, is constructed and exists of the ether. From this we can surmise there is no way to destroy the ether unless Agartha itself were to be destroyed. Now, the ramifications for destroying Agartha are not yet clear. After all, it's interwoven into the fabric of all realities, meaning its destruction would impact all of existence. It could very well reset all of time and space. Imagine restarting the universe, but without the influence of the ether. Yes, this is the reason. This is why Dr. Monty will not truly fix the paradox. Destroying Agartha, it would mean the end of him.
So this helps to explain why we're going forwards to fight Monty in the first place, and also what exactly the nature of that fight is going to be. The final thing we hear from Maxis is as follows, and is basically the direct lead into what happens in the outro cutscene, with Samantha being teleported all the way to Nuketown.
I may need to resort to drastic measures. Stand by, Monty. Wait on my signal. You will hear from me very soon.
So, what is the deal with Samantha then? Well, we see in Der Eisen that Samantha is visited in the night by keepers. She clearly has something going on with her that is more than just being an innocent soul. She has a deeper power within her. And this has always been kind of the case in the zombies story. There's always been something about Sam that has been unique to specifically her. And it's not because of those original events that we hear about in Der Riese. It's not about her touching the MPD and ending up inside. There is something else to it that makes her special. And part of that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying all of it is attributed to this, and I'm also trying not to go too Harry Potter on you guys, but it is worth mentioning here. Part of that is the fact that Maxis so deeply cares for his daughter. He will do anything he can to protect her. And time again in the zombies story, we've been following Maxis's plan, we've been listening to his radios, we've been carrying out his objectives, we've been doing his Easter eggs, and all of those have been in an effort for him to be reunited with his daughter Samantha, and for her to grow up in a world free of all of the contortions and abominations that 115 brings with it. This is why Maxis's ultimate sacrifice is to save Samantha rather than himself in the ending of Alpha Omega. He knows that A, Sam is incredibly important, and B, he needs to be there in order to press the button and get her teleported away before Monty realizes. It's a last-ditch effort to save the universe at a point where the cycle has already been broken out of, Monty is already suspecting what's happening, he's already making Maxis extremely nervous, and Maxis knows that his time is running out. Saving Sam in Maxis's mind is the only option. And that's why he nobly gives his life and ensures that she survives alongside Kid Eddie. That brings us to our final point for this video, but if you guys want a more in-depth look at everything, I can do a much more in-depth one. Like, I could do a lot of talking about the story in this map. So let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, we need to talk about the Great War. The last thing Samantha says in the cutscene is that we're going to fight the Great War, and then we're going back to the house, and we're gonna burn it down and destroy everything. Agartha, the ether, all of it is going to go. This lines up perfectly with exactly what Maxis suggests is the reason that Dr. Monty is preventing us from leaving the cycle. He's worried about the ramifications of destroying Agartha. If time and space gets reset, Monty doesn't have control anymore, and we know that he's a control freak. His very powerful position at the top of the hierarchy, his position above the Apothicons, above humanity, above the universe as we know it, in Agartha, is one that he values greatly. He treasures it. And so Samantha, knowing this, says that we're going to destroy Agartha, we're going to destroy the ether, we're going to reset everything, and we're going to finally bring balance back to the universe. Hopefully you have found this video interesting, guys. If you have, subscribe and let me know what topic you want next. The last thing I want to say is that right now I am selling Great War t-shirts and posters, which you can see the design for on screen, showing Monty and the Shadow Man and the Keepers and the Apothicons and Samantha. And if you want to pick one of these up for yourself, the link is waffles.ownage.com, which is in the description down below. Go check those out, pick yourself up a poster as we head towards DLC 4, and I'll see you very soon, hopefully, in plenty more zombies videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye for now.